Oh, well, here we are, going live, and it looks like, yeah, it looks like we have a 1 second delay in the stream. Not too bad. Looks like Zuko's back there, hanging out on the on his play set right back there. Zuko seems to be pretty happy, and we're gonna get busy. I got a little bit done yesterday. I did a live stream 2 days ago where I was acting completely obnoxious, singing along with Mustang Sally and various kinds of fun music. And I didn't leave the live stream up because I thought, yeah, I'll probably get a copyright strike if I leave it up because the music was actually playing into the room, not the headphones. But anyway, so here we are. It's really remarkable, actually, what has been accomplished in the past week. Hey, Helion, how you doing? Because I'm actually getting scarily close to having a complete first episode. I've gone through, I haven't done it all on the live stream, but I've gone through so many shots and just fixed things up. Shots that were barely acceptable before, or even not acceptable, that are now, you know, pretty much in the zone. To a degree, I fight with myself on, there's stylistic choices you make. Like right here, obviously the backgrounds are a very simplified thing, and that's a legitimate approach if you're kind of consistent across the show. And I don't even think you have to be consistent through the whole show. You know, it can be sort of unique to a scene or a setting. But so when I'm scanning through the shots, what I'm looking for is something that's going to jolt me out of the show. Like right there, this shot just jolted me because it looks to me like his color's just a little too saturated. So when something pops me out, yeah, see, that's better. So that's what I'm looking for. Probably her too, actually. Now I use the unsharp mask for that one. So let's crank that down just a little bit. So, and when you're editing, you'll find yourself doing this a lot. You're going to be going over your show back and forth over and over. That's why I tend to not want to go back and watch the movies that I've directed and edited, because you know them so well inside and out that you're sick of them, and it sticks with you for a long time. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. Like that shot right there might be a bit on the dark side. Let me see here. I used the unsharp mask on that one as well. It's kind of, I won't explain it right now, but you can actually use an unsharp mask to just create a standard contrast effect. And there's a reason, especially in a cartoon, that you might want to do that. That has to do with creating a backlit effect. Let me see here what we have. Yeah, I just kind of feel like maybe open up the gamma a little bit. So, bop. Yeah, that's a little better. I'm actually feeling like the gain should be popped a bit, though. There we go. Sounds like Valerie's coming down the stairs. And again, this shot just a little bit hot. Little bit hot. Little bit hot. Okay. So we're going to get into some animation here shortly. With Tahoma mostly today. It goes back and forth. Sometimes it's Krita, sometimes it's Blender, actually. Sometimes it's Tahoma. Today I'm thinking it's going to be Tahoma. Because we have a shot with Mel, which is this character, if you don't know, where the plastic tool animation is kind of all set up and ready to go. Okay, this shot, excuse me, a very highly stylized shot. I just want to look at this for a minute. Yeah, it's compositionally questionable. I feel like there's no... I mean, number one, what we should do is close if we're going to have a silhouette of Mel in there looking on, I think he needs to be in there stronger so that he's taking up a little bit more of the compositional space. And then I think those shadows are pretty lame. So let's look at 119 real quick while we're here. This is a shot I was working on last night. Actually, I guess I wasn't live streaming when I did this shot, but this is a bit of a challenge because you're dealing with a rotating the character in 3D space, which is usually for 2D animation is pretty much the hardest thing I generally bump into that I need to do. So I'm going to do a quick touch up here. There we go. And then let's just grab that color and maybe bring the bottom of his ear back in. Okay, that's cool. Save that, render it. It's already set up to render, so we'll just copy over that and then close it. Okay, back to, what was it, 119? I believe so. Let's see if 119 is a Krita file. I'm pretty sure it is. So 119, yep, there it is. So how's everybody out there doing this morning? It looks like there's only 3 people watching. And frankly, guys, I don't blame you. I gotta believe this would be probably pretty boring. Now, if you're wanting to see, well, see, even when I go to Tahoma this morning, it's not going to be a lot of drawing. It's not going to be a lot of your sort of Disney style, pencil test type stuff. What we have here is a shot that's already set up. And then if we look at this image sequence, we've got a lot of cool facial expressions, and I sort of have a little intermediate, especially with that expression right there, a little bit of acting I want him to do to sew this segment together. But again, let's knock this out real quick. So I'm thinking let's just add a layer, and let me see what I've got in the brush department here. I'm going to I really just want to kick up these shadows. And this whole idea of this stylized background is, I'm not really buying it, mainly because it's such a flip from what was going on in the shots before, which is kind of a no-no. But I'm kind of squinting now so I can see very clearly the effect of that contrast. It looks pretty good. I think that's better. Okay, so now why don't we just kind of generally fix up this somewhat stupid looking background. I mean, I know what I was thinking when I did it. I was thinking that we want a just a darker vibe, right? Because this is, Tianara's mother is kind of the villain character, and tell you what, let's take off. Okay, that's interesting. That's actually quite interesting. Let me turn that on and see what happens. Okay. I'm not thinking that's helping very much, but let's just keep... That's the animation of the coins. Probably for my purposes right now, I could take those guys out. So I just want to kind of see this guy. So like I said, the idea was this is kind of a darker situation because Tianara's mother's kind of the bad lady kind of thing, but I'm just not. When you've got a bunch of shots right before it that have a bright sunny sky, it doesn't really quite make sense, does it? So now this is a bit of a flip from reality. Check out on Zuko back there. In that really the atmospheric perspective usually suggests that the sky actually gets lighter toward the horizon. So let's just kind of do that, and then we'll just enrich our color a little bit. There we go, that's better. Just to scribble, scribble, scribble. Doing the Bob Ross thing, I suppose. Happy little clouds. Of course, there are no clouds. You want clouds? Okay, we'll do cloud. I'm not even going to use my cloud brush. I'm just going to put a little bit of cloud in there. really fun. And actually, this kind of does a better job of getting the attitude I was trying to get in the shot, in that instead of having our typical fluffy clouds, these are a little bit more edgy and angular. I mean, maybe I'm thinking too deeply about it, that's for sure, but yeah. We'll go with that. Okay, so now this, basically my contention is that a little bit of blurring with this background silhouette of buildings and stuff is fine, but we need a little bit crisper edges, let's say. Crisper edges. So yeah, at this point there's 2 concurrent users. That means most of the world, you know, 8,999,000. Well, I guess it'd be 7,999,998 people aren't interested in seeing me paint a background. Morning, babe. 2 are. Oh, it's an amazing thing. I keep friends and family keep asking me, "Hey, Dave, how's the cartoon going?" I'm like, well, at this point, it's looking very much like I've almost got the first episode ready to start blocking in the musical score and the voices, and which is kind of crazy. It was originally written and conceived as a double-length 48-minute episode. So at this point, about 32 to 34 minutes. Yeah, you know what? I would tell you, just wait for the algorithm to catch up. Are you referring to something with the live stream? Oh, I see what you're saying. With the audience. Oh yeah. Yeah, but no, I mean seriously, no one really cares. Even in the world of animation, what I think is probably true is that most people that are interested in animation, that are on YouTube, you know, they're either looking for instruction or they're looking for inspiration, right? I think that very few of those people probably have the real patience to sit and actually watch someone do the actual work of an actual cartoon, because it's really, really tedious work. And it's not it's not actually that inspirational unless you're like me and you really do like watching, you know, you're just looking over someone's shoulder, seeing them do it, you know, whatever that means. Some days it's real fun and exciting and interesting, and some days it's really boring. Now, if you're me, you think it's all interesting. I do. I enjoy the discipline of some of the tedious parts of it. I've come to, when I started this, I really thought I was going to absolutely hate doing background paintings. I thought, man, that's going to be just tedious and boring. And it's actually become one of the things I enjoy the most. And I've enjoyed learning how to master light, how to do things like this where you just put the tiniest little mark, and all of a sudden, if you look at it, all of a sudden at actual size, those rocks of the stone just pops, like you see it. You know, the ability to understand what light does, and by the way, we do need to definitely put a specular highlight along this edge, is really cool. And I've come to really appreciate the great matte painters like Peter Ellenshaw, you know, with Disney. I'm not pining for the old days, you know, in the sense that, you know, some people probably, there's one guy in particular I can think of who seems to feel that the, you know, CGI has sort of destroyed the great old days of 2D animation. I don't think that's really true. Actually, 2D animation is thriving right now. I mean, it's probably thriving more in the anime space, but it's definitely alive and well. So I'm gonna put in a hint of the the sky color in this specular highlight just to see how that feels. And the media space is such that there's never been a better time to be a creator of anything. It's just that finding an audience and or making a living at it is pretty challenging. You have to really be interested in the I suppose the promotional side of it, which in many cases means you have to be interested in the social networking side of it, which I have to admit increasingly I am not interested in. I find it to be mostly a pretty abysmal waste of time. I'd rather be doing the work, you know, here than socializing about it. So hence I'm the world's most boring YouTuber, because I'm not really I'm just trying to please myself actually. When I started the channel, I was looking for content like this where you could just look over the artist's shoulder and just see how they really do it. And you still can't find it if you're talking about an actual real world 2D animation studio creating real products, to be able to look under the hood and see the steps. You can't find it. There's a little bit on the TV Paint website about that, with the, you know, going in this animation studio and seeing how they use TV Paint. But even then, the problem with it is, when you talk about promoting a cartoon, you know, especially back in the days when DVDs were a thing, of course, all the behind-the-scenes stuff was carefully crafted to make it look like this was the most exciting, fun, just amazing process. And you know that's just hogwash. You know, you're talking about a lot, you know, it's a lot of work, and a lot of it's like I'm doing right now. It's very tedious. That's not a bad thing, but it's a thing. Okay, so by the way, this shadow action here probably needs to be somewhat reinforced on the building too, huh? Now, this doesn't make perfect sense, actually, now that I'm sitting here thinking about this. I actually drew those speculars almost as if the backlight is coming this way, and it's obviously based on the shadows, it's going that way. So in this particular case, I don't think that's going to matter much, but I am going to reinforce the contrast. See what I'm tightening up here, so that those are truly specular highlights. I mean, this building is really in shadow, but it's just picking up a little bit of that light. Now, for me, watching someone else do what I'm doing right now would be very interesting. You know, just when it turns magical, okay? Meaning when all of a sudden they put that simple little stroke, just a simple little brush stroke, and then all of a sudden, poof, it pops to life, you know, like you can see it. That's always a cool thing, I think. I don't know if anybody else thinks it's cool. I just don't know. And I'm super looking forward to doing the musical score on this show. It's going to be very challenging, but I've been studying guys like George Bruns, you know, who did a lot of the classic Disney films. I've always really liked Alan Menken's work, and I try to channel him in my own music, you know, composition. Hey, I'm going to jump across the color wheel here to the blues, because a lot of times what you find is if you grab the complementary color, meaning absolutely straight across the color wheel, it really can make your the dimensionality of your subject pop by just mixing in a little bit of the complementary color. Don't know if you knew that, but now you do. And you can try it yourself and see how it goes. So I'm literally just kind of having fun here with the with this background painting. I don't know that I needed to go this far with it, but I'm having fun painting, so might as well make it, you know, do the best job I can as long as I'm here. Okay, and now what I want to do is I really want to deepen. Let's try this. I want to cross. What if we split the difference and go to the midpoint and add a little green back in there just to see what happens? Don't know if I'm loving it. There's kind of a there's a bit of an abundance of green in the imagery already. And I'm going to actually try to bring back just a little bit of just a muted, you know, there would be some little bit of bounce light from off in the distance there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do here is just try to give the edge of this a little texture. But now if we think about this for a minute, let's just think about this for half a second. Actually, this color is more useful because if the light was coming this way, especially that low on the horizon-ish, then the very edge of this road situation would be picking up a little bit of shadow, wouldn't it? Right? Because if there's a little bit of greenery on the edge, then you're going to see that. You're going to see a little bit of that edge. So we'll put that in there. I'm going to hit the N key to see this at actual size. Okay, now up here, probably not loving this brush. Let's just buckle and use the foliage brush. It just saves us time. It's not exactly criminal to use the foliage brush. Okay. Just because, like I said, it's a bit of a time saver. And it's a very good, as far as animated brushes go, it's quite a good one. Alright, so now what I'm actually going to do is, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make this bigger and just try to catch some of that right there. To that's one of the things that's been missing for me on this shot, is it's just not framed in that well. We get away with it over on this side because we're going to have Mel's silhouette in there, right? But so let's just put a little hint there. Okay, I'm going to turn these layers back on and kind of see how things are going. This effect, I think, is for the birds. I'm getting rid of it. Okay, I keep saying okay. I don't say okay, I say okay. Alright, I'm just going to bake that down. Boom. This, that's probably okay. Let's just go ahead and merge the group of the background. So now what I'm doing in essence is I'm committing to, I'm almost anal about it to the point where I somewhat inexplicably seem to be obsessed with keeping my animation stuff all in one layer if I can, for the most part. That's all opinion at the end of the day. You know, do what you want to do. Okay, so what if we basically, if we're going to do this, this is interesting. Let's just say these shadows are going to extend a little bit. Okay, we're going to say they're going to kind of extend onto the grass. Okay, well, if they're going to extend onto the grass, doesn't that suggest that maybe a slightly richer green color might be peeking through here because of the sun coming across there? See that? Isn't that cool? Just creeping that highlight in there just like that is kind of cool. I think it's cool. You might not think it's cool, but I do. And since it's my painting, I get to do what I want. Okay, that's a little bit bright on the highlight. But yeah, I mean, that is a little nicer painting, I think. I do think this noise here is actually harming the picture, making things stick out too much. So I'm just going to kind of flatten that out. And okay, now here's Mel. What I said was he's not animated. Maybe he should be, though. Let's do it this way. Let's take the A key and let's lean him into the shot. Okay, so now what we're going to do is take the G key and we're gonna just go ahead and color him in. Okay? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move him slight angle, slight move. Oops, strike that. Let me go back here. Okay, there's no animation key here. I need to hit Control Insert and put in a key. Otherwise, it's just going to keep moving him but not actually animating anything. So, slight move. big move, big move, slight move. So what I'm doing is I'm doing an ease in and an ease out. I'm just tweening it myself. And now what I'm going to do is right mouse click on this little cluster of animation keys and mirror the frames so he's moving in the opposite direction. So when we enter the shot, this is what we'll see. And I wonder if actually I'm going to have him, I'm going to have him do a reaction here. I'm going to mirror these frames. Boom. Okay, I keep hitting the space bar. I actually changed the hotkeys. Hey, dead pianist. Welcome to the party. Dead pianist. I'm a pianist. But I'm glad I'm not a dead one, actually. I've been having a lot of fun working out little musical themes for this show. Forcing myself to do it on the piano first before I get into orchestration. There's a real danger if you listen to the score of a film or whatever, and it gives you an emotion, right? You get a feeling from the music. There's a real danger of trying to jump straight from the feeling to orchestration. There's a real danger in that I've learned. You want to make sure that you know what your melodies and your chords are very, very specifically before you try to orchestrate anything. Otherwise, you will paint yourself into a corner every time. Anyway, what I was saying about the hotkeys is I changed the hotkeys for playback and rewind to K and L. And the reason I did that is that's what they are in Tahoma. I'm trying to unify my hotkey system here a little bit. Okay, I actually like that, but this needs to be a little more of a jerk. So I'm actually gonna take a key out. So it's like, I like that. Just an idea. It's not really like hugely necessary, but the idea is that once Carliana turns around, Mel, ostensibly he would realize that she can see him, and she's an adult. You know, he's a teenager. There might be a little bit of an intimidation factor with that. Let me look at what happens next. Well, see, it cuts to these two and back to Mel. So that's interesting. I just want to think about this for half a second. What happens if he disappears completely? Let me see. So if he went... Okay, that's actually a is that a duplicate right there? Hang on. Yeah, that's just a single key. So if we take this one out, it shouldn't change anything. Yeah, and then my question is, what if I actually inserted a blank keyframe? Just curious about that, how that feels. No, that seems like too much of a reaction. All I'm wanting is just to feel like he's... In fact, I'm going to try this. I'm going to hit Control, drag, make it an even more subtle change. I know I'm being really picky here about a pretty small thing, but you know, you're just kind of trying to be responsive to little moments that give you an opportunity to create an attitude or a feeling, right? That's all it is. All right, I'm going to render this and bake it into the show and then jump over to the next shot that I'm going to animate. Do I watch anime? Some. You know, my first foray into anime, my wife was more into anime than I am. She kind of got me into it a little bit. But initially what happened was I actually went to the library. And just out of curiosity, I randomly picked a manga off the shelf. It's like I don't even know what I'm grabbing. And what I grabbed was Bakuman, which is a manga about two high school boys that become manga artists over a 5-year period of time, roughly. And, of course, everything else. It reminded me of something that I would write, I think, actually. I like One Punch Man because of the... absurdity of it and the juxtaposition of his laid-back attitude with the huge situations he gets into. I find that kind of funny. I'm going to move that back just a little bit. Let's render this baby and see what we've got. Yeah, I like that. Okay. This is, again, 119. So we save that. And you know what I think? I know what's missing. Sorry, guys. I got another idea. What if... I think... I could be wrong about this, but I just have a feeling here. I'm going to use this as a dummy layer and test something. I'll just draw some sketch lines in here like this. Okay, so if this is the perspective, okay, that's the perspective. So I'm going to grab my regular pencil and just go black here. And I'm going to hit the G key, so I'm actually using the freehand path tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the silhouette of some people who might be standing around here. Perhaps they're shoppers in the village or whatever, but I feel like if there were some more people in the shot. So this is going to be a woman holding a child's hand, basically. Okay, so we'll have the hand like that. Little kid kind of situation. It's very cartoony. That looks good. I'm actually leaving the curve interpolation on instead of raw, which I almost never do with the freehand path tool, because in this case it kind of works. So I'm going to actually make this, say this is, maybe this is dad, so we'll give him a real squared off body, squared off shoulders. Again, I'm deliberately making these very, very cartoony, very, very symbolic, you might say, in the background. There's another hand, and maybe the child's actually holding both parents' hands. We'll give the guy some sense of feet as well. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is hit Control M, and I'm going to just lift it so it's not pure black, because pretty much Mel is pure black. And then I'm going to maybe push green a bit. Does that work? I don't know if that's going to work. Just so they sit in the background better. I'm not sure I'm happy with the... I feel like it needs to be even lighter. I like that. And then probably their saturation needs to be dialed down a bit. No, actually not so much. Little tiny bit maybe. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is take these. Yeah, some shadows might be useful there, folks. Sorry. How you doing back there, Zuko? Zuko the African gray parrot is looking pretty calm. Okay, and now what we're going to do is take these guys and we're going to adjust them even more. I think that the contrast... I think it's really a good thing to be able to use curves to test these ideas, because it's kind of surprising that having them be lighter, arguably even having them being lighter than the background, is an interesting idea. I don't think it's the right idea in this case, but I just want to kind of find the midpoint where you can see, essentially, by getting the value right, they're kind of, they can't really decide if they're going to be lost in the background or not. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do. That's just too hard, because if you have it like that, then they're calling attention to themselves, right? The idea isn't to create attention. The idea is just to have something in the scene that helps balance out the composition a bit. So I'm going to go Control E and bake it down. I'm committing that to that in the background. Okay, and now when Mel comes in, yeah, let's go with it, baby. Save that. We're going to render this as 119. I want to check my timeline and make sure that that's what these are. Properties. This media is scenes 119 render, and it is 119 with a period, which is what I would expect. Alright, so this is going to be in folder 119, 119 period. And let's render it, and then we'll look at how it cuts into the show. Okay, looking at the messages, looks like there's nothing going on in the messages. So, beggar. Yeah, so compositionally, I don't think this is like the strongest composition I've ever come up with, okay? That's for sure. But, not bad. Not bad. Okay, so Tianara. Almost feel like her outline should be a little bolder. Actually, his too, maybe. That one I think I'll let go for the moment. I think I'll let that one go for the moment, come back to it, see how I feel about it after I've done a few more shots. And that shot I actually fixed up yesterday. Arguably, the mother should have a little bit more wrinkle action on her face. She looks a little too young, actually. Some sort of guiding lines making viewers look at... Okay, some sort of guiding lines. Go ahead and throw up some curves on this just to play around a bit with the level of contrast. See, that's somewhat interesting, but probably counterproductive. Because again, even if it looks good, if it snaps us out of the overall look of the show that we've achieved thus far, then it could be a little problematic. Actually not horrible. I'm actually thinking I can push that up a bit. Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking we're going to do that. I'm thinking that's what we're going to do. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now it makes their garment colors look a little muted, that's for sure. So I think I'm going to go with this. Let me see this. I'm going to go with this, but I'm going to come back here. And let's see here. The beggar, the mother, and Tianara are all in the same layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in a group so that I can add a filter mask to the whole group. And hopefully this will help. So what I'm going to do is apply an S curve. Yeah, let's tighten up their color quite a lot. Oh yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, let's do that. And I don't even think I'm going to... Geez. Let's just re-render it and see what we have. It might be that now they're too saturated, but hey, it's worth a try. LEL. I don't know what... I am shockingly inept when it comes to like emoticons and what's the term for these little abbreviations. So I don't know what LEL. LOL would be laugh out loud. So what would LEL be? Laugh. I don't know. Or it could be a typo. So that's the problem with things like that. I'd look at that and I go, oh, wait a minute. Dirt, what happened to your icon? Dirt's icon, as you guys can see, Dirt in the chat has an icon that's just a black dot. But yesterday, Dirt's icon was not a black dot. Okay, look at this, you guys. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I need to look at the rendered version. Let's see what happens. Okay. Now this is a risk you run, by the way, when you're piling effects on top of effects. I mean, the smart thing to do here, if we're going to be not stupid about it, the reality is what I really should be doing is taking this filter mask and applying it to the entire, well, let's see if I pop this up here. Yeah, I guess we need to apply it to a group. That's unfortunate, actually. I wonder what happens if we just put it as a layer at the very bottom. Okay, that's interesting. Not quite what we were looking for, but what I'm going to do is actually duplicate it and put a copy down here. And then we might be able to bake in the effects we're after here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, if this doesn't necessarily make sense for you guys, is I'm going to look here, and now what I'm going to do is adjust this so it matches. Which pretty much that's what we're talking about. Yeah. It's actually a little bit strong. Okay. Yes. And now what we can do is go back in here and balance this, and we can take the curves off in the main timeline now. Okay, so all I wanted to do here was essentially just get those guys sewn into the shot a little better. I'm kind of glad that Krita gives us all these different curves. Like, you can make hue adjustments, saturation adjustments. I'm gonna go to the lightness so you can see what that does. So we can just make a little adjustment here because they're picking up more of the sun, right? And now I can go ahead and intensify both the color and the highlight. Probably this actually should just come this way a little bit. Yes. It's a bit of a fine tune, isn't it? It's a bit of a fine tune. And the great thing about adjustment layers, or I should say filter masks, is that you can turn them off and on and kind of see. But I like that. I think the shot's looking pretty freaking good right now. So let's save our work. Back here, we can just take the color curves and remove them. We don't need them anymore. Now we're going to render this, and like I said, we should be able to move on to the next shot. So Dirt says NWD, which, okay, so Dirt for a LEL or LELE is an insult for LOL. LOL. How is it an insult, though? Go ahead and explain this to me. I truly don't know. I mean, it's pathetic that I don't know, but we'll just blame it on me being too old or something. And Dirt, I'm a little disappointed here, Dirt. You know, for about a week there, buddy, you were posting all these cryptic one-liners, like one-word things, and then you began to be doing like full sentences. And now it looks like, now that you've changed your icon, what the heck does NWD mean? I have no idea. There we go. There we go. Now, let's go back here too. As long as we're here. Okay, this was done in Tahoma, so it's going to be a pain to try to make any adjustments back in Tahoma. It's going to be way more efficient to just do it here. So, essentially, if you look at this, I'm liking what I'm seeing there, so I think what we'll do here is just kind of intensify that contrast. Yep, something like that. Yes. There we go. There we go. There we go. That's a little harsh. Okay, we're going to have to come back and fix that shot, by the way, with Luca. So much work to do. So much to do. And we're only 4 minutes into the episode as far as our fix-ups go. So you can see this is not all going to be done in 5 seconds. That's for sure. But this is the price you pay. Obviously, her mother's characterization is totally destroyed in this shot. This shot needs to be completely redone, at least insofar as the woman is concerned. This part's all so silly that it's fine the way it is, actually. Boom, boom. Ah! However, when we get to this, Mel's characterization is completely screwed up. So, yeah, like I said, a lot to do. Okay, so let's go back here and let's get the end of the show blocked in, as I said earlier. So, this is a fairly intense moment. This is the end of the first episode where Mel finds out that there's some stuff that's been going on behind the scenes that is somewhat dangerous for his people, you might say. just kind of putting things simply here. And now this is Asher kind of getting serious with him. Listen to me, Melchizedek. And then he goes and he's gonna write a letter that's got to be delivered and must not fall into the wrong hands. You can see where that's gonna go. Well, where it's gonna go is that it's gonna fall into the hands of a monkey, but that's a whole nother part of the story. Okay, so what we need to do is jump to Tahoma, and we've got this shot, which is 398B. Now what we're doing, well, okay, I already renamed it, so 398B is correct. All right, so what we want to do is we want to have Mel lean in. We're going to start with this expression, so we need to start where we ended before, which I believe would have been, no, it wouldn't have been this. Let's see here. Over here. Okay, got it. So this should be 7. All right. So what I'm going to do is actually just move this over 1 notch, and I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to and put it up here. Now, my bad. This is a mouth. So I'm a little confused here. Hold on. Let me look at this. How in the world? Oh, I see. Oh, I am stupid. Okay. So we'll just jump to 48, so that's fine. We'll go Control X, and that'll ripple edit it up. So that's what we're starting with. And then here we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start with what was the first frame, or the final frame of the previous shot. So this gives us a transition into this new shot. Now the good news is that the plastic tool is already set up. Right? So what I'm going to do is hit the X key, and we don't want to be in build skeleton mode, we want to be in animate mode. So let me look here. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is get this back to just a little, let's turn off keep distance so that we can get this a little below the horizon. Unfortunately, you know what, we need another, let me see. Well, maybe we don't need another bone. I wanted to just, okay, so he's moving over. That's not extreme enough, so I'm going to just go over like this. And I want to lean that a little bit this way. Take out that key. That was a boo-boo right there. I was on the wrong frame. Let's think about this. I'm going to make this even more extreme. I'm going to move this way over like that and really tilt his body this way. What if we did the opposite? Let's see. Yes. Okay, I want to actually tilt his body this way. And let's turn keep distance back on. But turn his head this way. Okay, again, I keep putting all the, so that he's not tweening over the horizon. See that? That's just the keyframe interpolation. It's not a big deal. What we want to do is have the start point be a little lower, like that. And that should solve that problem. There's other ways you could compensate for it. You could use the animate tool to just offset the whole layer and stuff. But hey, Darren. Let's see here. Is that a software for timesheet? Well, Dead Pianist, it's funny you should ask that, and it's funny that Darren T just showed up. The software I'm using is called Tahoma, which is a complete 2D animation package. I tend to intermix Krita. Krita is a really powerful paint program with animation tacked on. Tahoma is a really powerful animation program with pretty good painting tools. Okay, so the two together work really well. But as I was about to say, Darren T meet Dead Pianist. Dead Pianist meet Darren T, because Dead Pianist, you may be a noob. If you're a noob and you want to learn everything there is to know about this software that I'm using, you need to subscribe to the guy with the chat comment right below you, Darren T, because he has a really good course for newbies and tons of content on his YouTube channel to help you learn how to use this software. So if you want to do animation, Darren T's your man when it comes to Tahoma. Okay, so this shot, well, what I'll do is I'm just going to compensate a little bit here. So what we're trying to do is get him to, we want him to, let me see if I can do this. Yeah, so it's confusing because my camera's actually flipped. It's reversed. Okay. My microphone is on my left side of my head. Wait a minute. I guess it's not reversed. Okay, dyslexia moment. We'll call it a dyslexia moment. Anyway, Mel's gonna go kind of like this, and then he's kind of looking down to see, you know, what's up kind of thing. So, boom. All right, so when he gets to here, I almost wonder if there should be a brief moment in there. Yeah, there should be a brief moment. Before he moves to here, I think... Okay, this is interesting. It does not feel like a linear tween to me. Let me see here. But it might be. I gotta check my prefs here real quick. Yeah, it's linear. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so in what I was noticing here is we've got a tween. Darren might actually have an opinion about this. Final Flash is asking about the Blender Grease Pencil. I've actually got an extremely popular video here on my channel, which is Blender Grease Pencil 2.8 for newbies. I think that if you were entering the world of 2D animation and you had to only pick one software, yeah, cool. I'm glad you guys are getting acquainted. So speaking to Final Flasher here, if you only had one software that you were going to learn for 2D animation, I think that the Blender Grease Pencil is a totally legit direction to go. Everything that you can do with the Blender Grease Pencil, for the most part, you can do better, in my opinion, here in Tahoma. Less so in Krita, but Krita is a much more capable paint program. The reason I use these two together is because you can cut and paste from Krita into Tahoma. So I can create characters and do all the ink and paint and everything here, and some animation. And if I need more capabilities, I can just cut and paste the imagery into Tahoma and do what I'm doing here with more advanced tools like the plastic tool. Now, my criticism of the Blender Grease Pencil would be this. What you can see, and so I'm speaking directly to Final Flasher right now, and I want to really make this clear why I have the opinion I have, because it's not a popular opinion. The popular opinion right now is to be a Blender fanboy that's all excited about the capabilities of Grease Pencil 2.0. I'm not, and the reason I'm not is because I've used Blender for 20 years plus. I'm a real Blender old-timer, and everything that is cool about the Blender Grease Pencil, like what I'm doing right now, the idea of adding bones and being able to manipulate your character, you know, this way, sort of intuitively just move things around. Well, that's supposed to be one of the features of Grease Pencil 2.0. So you can parent your Grease Pencil character to an armature rig and do the kind of deformations you're seeing me do here with the Tahoma plastic tool. The problem is that in Blender 2.8 plus, 2.9 now obviously, 2.92, it doesn't actually work. It doesn't actually work very well at all unless you go through a very laborious process of setting up vertex groups, and it's, you know, there's a lot of housekeeping required to actually make it usable. So for me, if I took this imagery mapped it to a plane in Blender, and then used either shape keys or armatures to animate that, that works great. But we've been able to do that for 20 years. That's nothing new. So everything that the Blender Grease Pencil does now that's actually germane to 2D animation, it pretty much does worse than many other tools that have been around a lot longer. So it will catch up. It will catch up. But, okay, so I wanted to mention something to Darren. One thing I notice here is the linear interpolation between this key and this key. This is something I want to just note so people are aware of it. So this is a copy of this. And now what I want to do is, I put that second key in there because it's just a hold. So I don't want any interpolation between these two keys. For Darren's enrichment, I will say I'm very specifically not wanting to go to constant interpolation here. So my goal is not to make it so the interpolation doesn't happen. I'm just wanting to point something out to you that might be useful to kind of think about or be aware of. Because it's a little non-intuitive, which is this. I've got two keys here that create a hold so he doesn't move, but then there's an interpolation over to here. Now this is fine. I have no problem with this. What's interesting to me though is that because of the way the interpolation data is baked into the when Tahoma does keyframe interpolation, it's not, you can think of it this way, it's not like it's algorithmically just calculating the positions between position A and position B. What it does is it calculates that, but it essentially does it one time and then bakes the solution into the individual frames. So that's what you see here. Now if you change these numbers, it'll recalculate it. But what I find kind of interesting right here is that if I were to go here and start changing the his position, like so if I go like that, it doesn't actually interpolate from this to that one change. It actually is incorporating the data of the tween into that midpoint. So to do what I really am trying to do here, I actually would have to go Control C and then paste another copy in here. So do you see what I'm saying, Darren? I mean, it's just kind of interesting to me. If the tweening was actually a live interpolation, if you will, as opposed to being baked into the spreadsheet, I don't think that's what would happen. What would happen is if you stuck in a new tween, it would base the new tween on this starting point, not this starting point plus whatever's changed midway between here and here. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. And so this tween, even though I made a copy here, this tween doesn't work at all because it's actually building on, I should say this pose doesn't work because it's building on the tween data. So if I take this out like that, now, that's kind of ugly. Okay, so here's what I actually have to do. I actually have to take this key, modify it, and then remake a key copy here in order to get it to tween cleanly between these two. Does that make sense? To me, that seems like a bit of a flaw. That's you know, open to interpretation and opinion, but that doesn't really. Okay, I disagree with you. Actually, I want to say okay, I disagree with you on that. It is live in the sense that it is interpolated between these two starting points, starting and ending points. And if you change this, all these numbers in between will change. Believe me, I get that. What I'm saying is, if I start with this as a starting point, let me redo this because I really want to make this clear. I don't know that this is a problem that needs to be fixed, but I think it's interesting to be aware of. Okay? Amar. I'm gonna very strongly disagree with you on that statement, Amar. Not agreeing at all. Not even close. And a big reason why I disagree with you is because of the problem of the grease pencil not being able to treat filled areas as a pixel grid. If it could basically deal with it as an algorithmic vector type item and a pixel grid at the same time, then it would be amazing. The problem is you cannot cut a character into pieces cleanly or intuitively with a Blender grease pencil. You have to think like a 3D modeler. You've got to think in terms of layers and the structure of your scene in order to get results that are predictable. You can't draw something, like I can't draw something with a Blender grease pencil and then just draw a lasso around this and cut the man's head off and separate it. I can't. Here I can. And there's some big reasons why I might want to, because with the plastic tool, if I take this drawing, by the way, I'm getting off the thing I was talking to Darren about, but if I take this drawing and deliberately simply cut his head and move it away and then do the plastic tool, now I can use the plastic tool to simply treat it like a rigged puppet. It doesn't have to do the deformation thing. I don't know if you guys understand what the heck I'm saying. There's some really old shots that I could show you where I did that to show what I'm talking about. But I want to get back to this thing I was explaining to Darren. Okay, let me start over. So I hope you're still with me. We have a key. I've copied the key. Therefore, nothing changes. I made a new pose. It's a global key, so it set keys for all the bones. And that's fine. That keeps things pretty cleanly organized for me in my mind. So here's the point that I was making. Theoretically, if I were to change the pose here, I would want this changed pose to be based on a change from this starting point, not the change of this starting point plus whatever's morphed through in the spreadsheet data to get me to here. So I am not making, if I do a pose here, it's not going to tween between here and here. It's not. It's going to tween between here plus whatever modifications have occurred getting to here, and then it's going to create a new key. So again, I turn the head like this. It's not going from this to this. It's going from this to whatever this has changed into. And I think the reason I would say maybe it's a bug, because I suspect, look at what's probably about to happen. We'll see. If I put the key on the very next frame, okay? I put the key on the very next frame like that. Okay, so now obviously that worked, except it didn't. Even on the very next frame, you can see that he moved a little bit because of the influence of this later frame. That seems pretty whacked to me. That tells me that this keyframe interpolation data is baked into these cells. It's not merely doing a live calculation from here to here, because it's not able to intelligently guess that what I intended here is to simply go from here to this one change that changed one bone. The move of all the other bones is being factored into it. Now let's watch what happens if I stretch this down here. My guess is, yeah, okay, so it's doing pretty much what you would expect. Not what I would want, but it is what I would expect. So this is what I have to do. What I have to do here is actually duplicate this exact key and then modify it. Now we'll get the results I was looking for. Now it's going to go and change only that, and then he's going to move. So I hope that made sense. Okay, so we might have gotten into a flame war here. But then you're doing plus. Exactly. That's right. Sometimes you want deformation, sometimes you don't. My argument with the Blender grease pencil is you can't have it no matter what you do. And nobody has shown me that that's not true. If you parent a Blender grease pencil character to a set of bones, what you get is a complete freaking mess. It's not even close to being usable. And anybody wants to show me different, point me to a YouTube video and prove it. Because I have not seen it one time anywhere. You cannot take a Blender grease pencil object, comparing it to an armature rig and get anything predictable. Not even close. Now you can do it if you set up all your vertex key groups and everything. But yeah, now you're going to spend 2 hours rigging your character. That's perfectly fine if that's what you want to do, and it can be really effective. I don't personally want to spend the time. Can you see the graph editor in Tahoma? Yeah, absolutely. I've got it set to a hotkey, so I'm hitting F2, and if you just click this little toggle, it switches between the graph view and the spreadsheet view. So any changes here are immediately reflected live, interpolating between. And by the way, a lot of your effects and things, like if you go into your schematic and you look at this spreadsheet, this is the structure of your scene, whereas this is where you would insert effects. Like if I wanted to add color curves or whatever, you know, you got a million different node-based compositing effects you can use. As far as I'm concerned, it's arguably better than the node editor, you know, compositor built into Blender. It's close. The two are pretty comparable. There's some things in Blender, obviously, that are being improved very rapidly right now too. So, well, correct, exactly. And frankly, Amar, I will say this: I like the characterization of Mel in this drawing. Okay, I like his characterization. Therefore, for me to stop everything on this show, cut him apart, and go ahead and set up a rig either in Blender or Tahoma to use going forward in the future would probably not be a bad idea at all. You know, you're going to spend a bunch of time one time in exchange for saving a lot of time downstream. I completely get that, and I think it's a perfectly legitimate approach. In this show, I'm kind of bouncing between staying a little true to the sort of the anime aesthetic where there's more hand-drawn kind of thing than going to a rigged approach. It's just a choice. I mean, I think they're both perfectly good choices too. It just depends on what you want to do. Now in this case, let me hit rewind and see what we got. So we cocks the head. Okay, what I want to do here is I want to switch poses now. This is 48. I'm hitting the W key. Okay, it looks to me like, yes, actually that's what I wanted. It looks to me like we've got mouth shapes baked into a lot of this, unfortunately. A lot of this image sequence. But yeah, I mean, I'm getting fairly inflamed about it because I've spent one heck of a lot of time with Blender, you know, over the years, including the grease pencil. And it's an amazing tool. But, you know, it does have limitations. Okay, let's go back to the story here. So this is fairly intense. Melchizedek, listen to me. Okay, and then I just wanted to have this. I don't know if I got the characterization right. Not yet. Let me look at these poses and see if I have what I need. I might have to create something from scratch. This is actually, wait, that's actually the one I wanted. What is that? 22, 20. Oh, it looks like I pulled the duplicates out. Okay, so that's 27. I'm gonna say let's put 27 in there and see what that feels like. Again, this is a bit of a touchy situation. I'll just take his mouth out. I got to think about. Okay, so let me go ahead and take Amar's comments here under advisement. It is like Toon Boom Harmony. It's most of these more, you know, capable programs kind of do a lot of the same things. Doing what you're doing can be done using the sculpt. That's part of the process during playing. Yeah, that's true. You can. I mean, can being the operative term. It really just depends on what you're trying to do. In most cases, What you do, I think you'd get more out of redrawing it to get the look you want. Yes. In this case, you're probably right. On this exact scene, we're kind of over the point of no return where it probably would have been more economical to just redraw it, but that's okay. Right. I do have fun. And by the way, we're really not, I mean, he's bending his neck, but we're really not doing much in the way of deformation in this shot. You know, it's pretty minimal. Okay, I like that. I'm just going to take these mouths out for the moment. Okay, not bad, not bad. I actually like that. Let me see what happens if we play this. Everything's happening a little too slow. Boom. Okay. Probably. I'm just going to turn the mouth layer off since we've got these mouths baked in. Okay. Now here, again, it's a little bit slow. Let me see. Loop. Bop. Yeah. This. Now what did we have here? Yeah, that definitely is not what we want. Nor is that. So here, really want to push that. Really want to push that pose. That. Yeah, let's push it even more. Yeah, that's more what I'm looking for. Boom. Okay, let's just keep playing with this. I have a feeling I know what to do here. So we need to do a hold. So let's give him a half-second hold. And then maybe a 2-frame. You guys can kind of see what I'm trying to do here attitudinally. And then maybe this should be a change. Maybe. We'll see. Let me pop this in here and see what we think. Boom. Ooh, that's interesting. I'm going to... Little serendipity there, people. Control C, Control V. What happens? Nope, too many. That's too much. That doesn't work. But do we end on this? I'm actually thinking we'll stretch this out. Okay. Let's see how it looks. All right. Amar's blowing up the chat. That's all right, brother. Works for you, so that's fine. Sometimes it seems the mesh deformation you can do take longer than just redrawing. That's true, yeah. About to hop on Twitch to work on that 11-second club anime. Okay, cool. Wait till the last days to do something is not good. Let's see what happens. Good luck on your stream then. Thanks. I don't know how much luck I need on my stream. It's right now we've got a delay in the stream of 15 seconds, and obviously somebody out there thinks this is interesting. But yeah, this is perfect. This actually came out perfect, you guys. What I'm trying to do, let me go here. We will hide the mesh. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is save myself some drawing, actually. You could show a lot of Asher fiddling around on the table, pulling out a pen, grabbing some paper, because he's got to scribble out a message. Okay? Do we want to show that? Or is Mel's reaction to seeing that happen more important? Well, I would argue, no question, Mel's reaction is more important because we're going to hear the sound effects of all the shuffling of papers and everything. And Mel's the main character, and what he's thinking and feeling is what matters. And it's easier to do. So I'm going to do that so that when we cut back to Asher, he's already got his paper, and he's telling Mel that I've got to get this message to a confidant in the palace. Okay? That's what's going on here. So Asher says, let's go back here just a little bit. So Mel's giving a smart alecky answer here to the situation, which I won't completely recap. And then Asher jumps in and Melchizedek, pay attention. I can't remember the line of dialogue, but then he says, listen to me, Melchizedek. He gets real serious. All of a sudden, this guy that's like a father figure to Mel just got real serious. Okay? So now as Mel's hearing him turn away and start to shuffle all these papers, this is what Mel does. What's this? Right? That's perfect. That's perfect. It's exactly what I wanted. Now I need to stick a mouth back in here, obviously. I'd say that's probably the one we want. And this mouth, okay, sorry about that. I made a boo-boo. Okay, I forgot it was turned off. Let's turn the mouth back on. I don't really want this mouth shape. Might need to add a new one. Let's see. We'll just toggle through. That's actually kind of interesting. Let's take these out. I like it, guys. I like it. Okay, file, save. So we're going to save this as 398B, and according to Darren T's recommendations, we are going to set up render settings, scenes, 398-B, boom. And I was kind of hoping, okay, so Tahoma appears to be frozen. I think what's going on now is it's looking, okay, it says the path hasn't been, so I was wrong. What I have found is it's more reliable to just set up the paths myself. So for that I tend to use this image viewer, Faststone image viewer. Where is Zuko? Uh-oh. I gotta check on Zuko. Hang on a second, guys. Sorry. Little panic situation there. Looks like Valerie put him back in the cage, and I did not realize it, so I just looked back there. It's like he's gone. I don't remember him flying, which I would hear, so... Okay, so this is 398B, so let's just go ahead and do this the hard way. So what we'll do is we'll go back to the scenes folder, hit F8 to create a new folder, and we'll call this 398-B. All right? I found that if you type the path in the output settings rather than that pop-up, it works each time. Okay, let me check that. 390. So I created 398B, but... Okay, so you're talking output settings, not render settings. Okay. Ah, yes. Very good. Okay. Oh, that was stupid. Okay. I'm having a bit of a stupid attack. Unfortunately, what I've got to do right now is do this a bit the hard way. So I'm going to go ahead and just steal this from there and hit escape. Fine. And now I should be able to paste it in. Okay, so now what I want is scenes 398-B render folder. Okay? And now 398B period, and I want this to be ping images. All right, let's give it a crack. Save and render. Ah, that worked. Okay, good. Thank you, Darren. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Okay, well that renders. I'm actually going to go update my tasty beverage, so that'll probably cost me a couple viewers. So sorry about that, you guys. It's going to take about 2 to 3 minutes. What I'll do is I'll cut this into the show and then let some of the recent stuff loop a bit while I go get my tasty beverage, which, as I say, it'll take about 3 minutes. So project media. Let's select this in the project media list, because the next one we're going to insert is going to show up right next to it. And then we're going to go scenes 398B. There it is. There it is. Okay. We're opening an image sequence. We're going to set it to 8 frames per second. Drag this in here. Turn off resampling. And stick this in and see how things feel. So, listen to me, Melchizedek. Yeah, I really like that. We're getting a lot of mileage out of him hearing what's happening without. We don't have to see it, as long as we can hear it. That's excellent. If I do say so myself. All right, so I will loop the current sequence while I go get my tasty beverage, and I'll be back in just a couple of minutes, folks. Well, the microwave does its thing. I guess I don't know how far this went. It looks like we got a bad edit there. So getting back to the software fanboy flame war, I would say, for the benefit of, let me see here. Oh, people like Dead Pianist and Final Flasher who are asking about software, I would say that the reality is that if you've got a vision in your mind for a show or a concept or something that you want to create, that you will be able to accomplish it using Tahoma, Blender, Krita, or any one of a lot of other softwares. And they all have their strengths, and for me, I've evolved towards the judicious combination of Krita and Tahoma as being a very nice combination for me. Darren will appreciate. I need to get back to the script here and look at. So he says, "Listen to me, Melchizedek." So just to be clear, Mel looks on, we'll say quizzically, for lack of a better term. That's going to be exposition, and then Asher's going to say that I need to get a message. I must get a message to a confidant in the palace. Now, half of that line will probably be happening off screen, right? So now we're going to jump into a full-blown shot here in Tahoma. So let's save this, save all. And this is going to be, I believe, $3.99. Now, let me double check this, though. I think in the storyboard, yeah, in the storyboard, that there's actually a shot missing. So we're going to go unfortunately, we're going to go 398C. Should we, let me hold on and think about this for a minute. This is actually the shot, if the truth be known. And that was done in Krita. I would be probably pretty stupid not to. Blender, AE, and Premiere. Yeah, see, and that's fine. You know, I'm Blender, Tahoma, Krita, Vegas. You know, I use Vegas for editing just because I've used it for 20 years and haven't had especially great results with Premiere ever, actually, going back many, many years. Okay, so let's open this up in Krita. This shot's all done. We're good. Save that. Yeah, Zuko's pretty sedate over there. What was this, 396? Yep, let's open up 396. And so, because of my bizarre naming convention, it's actually 396. It's actually, okay, that's... Okay. Okay, so that's Asher, Mel, that's the background painting, and the sky. We could bake the background into the sky, obviously. Okay? And I'm thinking we're probably going to, let's save as, and then we need to go back here and double check our file names. So this is going to be 398C. All right? So we'll just change this to 398-C. And we'll save that. Okay. So now, one of the things I do like about Krita, and there's a disadvantage to it too that you bump into from time to time, but is the idea that everything in your shot is packed into the Krita file. So it's effectively all in there. It's not referencing external files on your hard drive. That has its advantage too. If you're reusing assets across many scenes and you want it to be procedural, where if you change the assets, all the other shots update automatically, that has its advantage too. In practice, I've usually gotten more benefit out of a workflow that is less procedural, actually. Kind of to my surprise. If you were doing what Amar was talking about and you did a real rigging-based puppet animation approach, then you'd probably want the a little bit more of a procedural workflow. So it depends on the situation. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is a couple things. First thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and bring everything into Tahoma, because I have a strong suspicion I'm going to wish I did. So I'm going to go Control A, Control C, and so now let's go ahead and create a new scene. And we're going to go into our scene settings right out of the gate and change this to 8 frames per second, just because I always work at 8 frames per second. Now I'm going to go Control V. Uh-oh, little boo-boo. There's the layer. Control C, Control V, and boom, there it is. Okay, and now again we're going to save this as 398-C. File. Yeah, we can do save all. And we're going to save this as 398-C. Okay, that's that. All right, so now what we're going to do is get, and by the way, it's taking a minute because it's probably Mel into this shot. Okay, so you can see he's kind of in the wrong position. There's a number of ways we could fix that, but I'm going to choose not to fix it at all at the moment. When you paste into Tahoma, Tahoma looks at what you're pasting in and figures out, based on the alpha channel and transparent pixels, how much of this is actually important pixel data. And then based on that, it crops to what's important. If you don't want it to do that, there's a workaround. And the workaround would be something like this. For this picture of Mel, what I could do is take the freehand path tool and just make some marks in the corner that I can erase. Okay, now there's pixel data all the way out to the edges, and I suspect if I re-paste this into Tahoma, come on, trying to paste into Tahoma, pasting into Tahoma, Control V. Interesting. Up, there it is. Okay, so now I can delete this. And you see what happened? By putting that dummy pixel data in the corners, that forced Tahoma to center it, which is quite useful. Quite useful indeed. All right, so let's keep going. Okay, so now this, I'm going to merge this group. I'm going to go Control E and just merge the group. This, oh, that's the selection mask. Okay, so here we're going to have the same problem again. So I'm actually going to take the picture of Asher, and I'm actually going to do the same thing. I'm just going to put some dummy data in the corners, because that just forces it to put everything in the same position that it was in Krita. Kind of a silly kludge, but pretty effective, frankly. Folder. So if I scroll through here, I'll bet you I'm going to find those images now. Somewhere in here. Yep, right there. See that? There it is. There's both of the, even the one that I deleted. So it looks to me like actually when you paste into Tahoma from another application, the reason it takes a second for Tahoma to decide that it's going to go ahead and paste it in is because it's not just pasting it, it's actually pasting it and immediately saving it to the hard drive for you. And I know that that's true because normally Tahoma is going to save all these external drawings and stuff when you go save all. Okay? Well, that first pasting of Mel that I did, I never saved. But yet here it is on the hard drive. So that tells me that Tahoma is actually saving stuff immediately. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I'm going to delete that image. We don't need it anymore. But that explains why it takes Tahoma a second to do its pasting. And now in this image, I'll just hit the E key and just do a lasso erase. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Done. Now if I hit save all those images on disk are saved. They're going to be updated, as you will see. Ta-da! And now these are assets that I can use later in any other shot if I want to. Not that I would necessarily want to, but I've got the option. Okay. Now what are we trying to do here? First of all, the image of Asher is completely wrong. The only reason I have this in here is so I can match the color from a previous shot. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to insert a, well, I would say first thing we need to do is insert a raster layer. Okay? And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a lasso select and just grab Asher and cut him out. And then I'm going to go over here in this new layer, again hit the S key for the selection tool and hit Control V. Okay, so that just saved Asher into this drawing for reference purposes. Okay, so now I'm going to turn that back off, and now I'm going to come back here and repaint the table, just kind of fix up the table. So I'm going to grab this brush, hit the R key, sample that color, B key, and just go through and just fix this like right now. Okay, and I'm going to do it in scribble mode. First off we'll scribble the main color, and then we'll just grab these other colors and kind of make it work. So don't really need like the fill tool or anything like that. This is just a quick and dirty scrubbing in some color, yada yada yada. And then I'm going to hit the E key for the eraser, which I generally use a lasso based erasing. It is my preference, and I'm not completely happy with that. Let's sample this color, so R key, and what I'm going to do is actually rotate the canvas so I can get a little better precision on my drawing. Now, obviously, if you're a purist about the physics of, well, in other words, what would this table look like if it was a CG? Okay, I keep hitting the wrong key. I'm thinking Krita here. It's actually supposed to be Shift-Alt-R to reset the curvature. Okay, fine. Now what I'm going to do is, gosh, I think what I'll do is just extend this for the moment and then go here, and what we're going to do is create a a Toonz raster level or a smart raster level. So I'm going to hit the B key and it'll automatically create that for me. Alright, I'm going to create a couple extra brushes here. This one is going to be a raster brush based on charcoal red, so it's basically for sketching. This one should be fine just the way it is. So, alright, now I can use the up and down arrows to just ballpark this positioning. And I'm going to just get Asher's basic pose mapped in here. And of course, what we could do in this case, since we got the background in the picture, we might as well just use white. And I'm going to actually just sketch in the table extents so that we can. So what we're going to do here is figure out what is it about Asher that needs to be redrawn and animated the hard way, so to speak, or versus can we get any leverage, you know, as usual with the plastic tool or whatever. Now I'm going to hit the S key. By the way, since I updated the driver, not everything is good news in regard to the driver upgrade, but one thing that has improved is now I can actually use my stylus with the selection tool, which for the longest time I couldn't. I had to actually, when I was using the selection tool and doing these kinds of deformations, I had to use my mouse. So I'm kind of happy about that. Okay, so what would he be doing here? I want to really think about the volumes here. So meaning I'm thinking about the three-dimensional shapes that I'm trying to draw. Okay, this is okay. Geez, only 2 concurrent viewers. Everybody's bailed out on me. Everybody's bailed out. Okay, this is kind of wrong. Everybody's left me. Okay, this is actually, let me hit escape. Let me undo that. This is actually the problem. I don't like this. I'm going to make an adjustment. So I'm going to move the center point to here, so I can rotate this around like that. Yep, I didn't like that pose. I'm going to move this again. Take this. It's hard to see the doggone center point. And then, of course, we can't see the colors, so that's what we want. All right, so what I'm trying to do here is grab all this, put this essentially there, and so this is one of those things you just have to work out. In order to get his hand to do what I want his hand to do, I have to get his arm to where it belongs. So therefore, I want to go like this. And let's just work in reverse. So we're doing kind of a, whoops. A little bit of kinematics here. Little bit of kinematics. Well, this is probably a good example of what Amar was saying. Why not just redraw it, frankly? You can. No doubt. Okay. Okay, so he's writing with his right hand. And so this is going to be interesting to animate, because really what we need to do is probably put the hand on a separate layer so it's just doing this, and then animate the arm with a this could be plastic broke into two pieces. So actually I'm going to put this arm on its own layer. His head, we'll simply animate the his eyes. So he's really only going to be in one pose. Potentially a little bit of a rotation of the head. Okay, so actually I'm going to get a little radical here, and for planning purposes I'm going to do this. I'm going to move his head up and out, and I'm going to move his arm up and out. And you guys will see why, because this will allow me to use the plastic tool quite judiciously and keep it all on one frame. Or on one layer, actually. It's a little strange. What I'm doing here is a little strange, but it's actually quite useful. It's what I was talking about earlier. The only caveat is you've got to be able to keep in your head the way your character is actually constructed. Alright, so I'm hitting the B key. Okay, this is kind of a flaw with Tahoma. This is a bit of a flaw. And the flaw is that when there are already lines there, even if you say overall, it doesn't, you have to really push hard to convince Tahoma that you really want to overwrite those lines. So obviously some people are screaming at their screen right now saying, well, stupid, why don't you just put it on a separate layer? Yeah, you're right. You're right. You could do that. Okay, so now if I go here and I hit the E key to erase, you notice I've got selective, which means that it's only going to erase the stuff that, the color that's currently selected in the palette. Quite useful. Alright, and now what I'm going to do to make this a little easier is I'm actually going to erase that. Then I'm going to take the selection tool and just move this away so that I'm not dealing with that problem I was describing a moment ago. And then I'll just zoom in and just kind of instinctively, as much as I can, get his hand drawn in there. We'll give Asher some fingernails. The man does have fingernails. Okay, that looks all right. And then we can hit the E key. I can hit the 3 key, which automatically causes this color to be selected, like 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's something Tahoma does. And now I can erase that. And then the only caveat here is going to be that I need to grab color number 4 and just make sure that I've got closed shapes here if I want to use the fill tool. So I think we're probably good. I need to create a new hotkey for the fill check, because in Tahoma my typical hotkey for that has kind of been co-opted by the system, if you will. Okay. Okay, so why don't we just keep doing what I was saying? Actually, this is not a bad strategy. Let's take this, move it back into place like there, but let's just draw it up here. I mean, I'm a great artist, right? I can pull that off. In fact, what I could do is go just trace along here, and now that let's move this up out of the way. Okay. Now we'll close things up, hitting the N key. Okay, that's all right. This is going to have he's got like a yellow collar thing. We're going to have to follow into the shoulders here, and then we're going to also have to close this shape, so we're just going to draw that down below. Okay, now up here, again, I think I'm just going to, we'll see how Tahoma does here, but Yeah, I mean, it's okay. If I press hard, essentially if I press hard. Let me try this. Let's turn pressure off, but we're probably going to wind up with lines that are too thick. Actually not. Okay. For doing the ink here, I can live with having the pressure off. I don't really need it for this outline. And once I get the outline in, I can erase the guidelines. Yeah. So now I'll hit the 3 key, erase. Ta-da! And again, we'll just erase stuff. This is going to require a hand with a pen. So let's put that up there. I don't know if this necessarily makes all the sense in the world to you guys, but it's essentially the rigging approach to animation. So now the important thing here is that I'm very clear in my mind of my characterization so that I can draw the guy and have it actually look like him. That's why I'm flipping my canvas. Okay, he does have some lines of dialogue, so I'm going to leave his mouth off. And by the way, he's also got his little cap that he wears. Okay. That's a little too much on the old wrinkly lines. That would probably be okay. He does have some wrinklage under his eyes, like so. And if we hit the N key, yeah, that looks okay. So we'll see if this works, folks. We'll see if it works. Yeah, I guess we can just leave that turned off for the moment. Coming back here, hitting the 3 key, and erase. So yeah, I mean, doing the... Okay, stop. Undo. 2 key, no. 3 key, selective erase. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, that's better. Okay, this is not quite done. He had a collar, a yellow collar, and then a little bit of space in between. So there's that. He's going to have a little bit of collar action on the sleeves as well, which of course we had here. Okay, so now, yeah, so you guys are probably like, what the heck? But this will actually make sense. Okay, so this, let me think about this for half a second. What I want to do with this is I'm actually going to split this up as well. I'm going to split that up. Okay. B key. I'm just going to draw that with my ink lines. Alright, I gotta go get my tasty beverage and hang out with my woman for a couple seconds, so I am going to take a little break. And what we're going to do is we're going to get these pieces in a minute. We're going to get these pieces filled in with color, and then we're going to use the plastic tool to bring them all together so that we can animate them. So it should be a lot of fun. So give me, come on, Tahoma. Oh, Tahoma's thinking. Tahoma's thinking right now. It's really thinking. So apparently it's got to save everything to the hard drive. We will assume that that's what's going on because everything is in a not responding state anyway. So I'm going to be back in about 3 to 5 minutes. I am back. Hey, Yvette. And inexplicably, people seem to have stuck around. Okay, so it could well turn out that this shot, I want to give this little caveat, that this whole thing could turn out to be a bad mistake. Just let you know, that's a very real possibility. We'll see. One of the problems that I can see right now is that this is a quintessential animation problem if you're using a layering and rigging approach. What problem are you talking about, Dave? Well, the problem that you have an element in your shot that's both behind and in front of something else. It looks to me like Tahoma is still... no, there it goes. Okay. So the problem that we have, potentially here, is that his hand is in front of the table, but his body's behind the table. So we'll deal with that when we get to it. I'm also seeing a little hiccup here. That's what the eraser's for. So this, in a way, this shot will illustrate what I was talking about earlier. It's probably going to turn out, when it's all said and done, that setting this up in rigged fashion, the way I'm doing, will turn out to take quite a lot longer than if I had just redrawn everything wherever necessary. But we'll see. Okay, so I'm going to add a few colors so I can just start getting this chopped in. If I go here, you can see this is in shadow. This is really the color I need. So what I'm going to do is, and Tahoma's really having to think a lot here. That kind of bugs me. It's really having to like stop and think a lot. So what I'm going to do is turn the background on. Okay, it's not the background I want. I'm sorry. Let me look at what I have going on here. Okay, this is what I need. So I'm going to extend that down. Okay, this is a little strange. Why are we still seeing this? I'm going to kill everything except this layer. Now we don't see Asher. We don't see Asher. We don't see Asher. Here's where Asher is. Okay, this is a Tahoma glitch. Okay. Sorry. Okay, why do we see Asher here, but yet over here in the picture we don't, in the thumbnail? We would call that a bug. And then when I go here, now, okay, I did turn that off, so that's my fault. Oops. Okay. So what I wanted to do is take this color and make it the yellow that we need. So I'm going to hit the R key and go like that. I'm going to hit that. I'm going to add another color for his garment. We won't worry about the shadows at this point. And then flesh tone. Okay? So now we don't need this anymore, at least not for the moment. May need it later. Alright, let's see how well we did on our fill operations here. Boop. Not bad, not bad. Not horrible. You can drag with the fill tool, so I can drag around like this. Obviously I could switch it to freehand mode, which lets me draw a lasso around things, and it looks like I am going to need to do that. So that means switch this to freehand so that I can actually lasso these areas right here and pick up all this garbage. Probably using my mouse isn't the best idea ever. Okay, so that's fine. Let's come up here. His hand. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is just kind of use the flesh tone to fill that stuff in, and now I should be able to lasso this. And okay, it didn't work. Let's see what happens if we grab all that. Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I probably should add a little utility color here for the brush. And we obviously have a little leak right there, so let's just kind of close that if we can. And we're still in freehand mode, so we should be able to do that. Nice. Okay, so now here's the yellow. B key, I'm just going to, again, just kind of patch these holes real quick. Boom. And then F key for fill. No problem. Everything seems to be working okay. Now here, this is kind of interesting because we're creating a junction point between the upper arm and the lower arm. Okay? Now, this is our ink. Yep, as you can see, that's our ink. I'm going to give that a name so that I am making a clear distinction between the ink color and the black, just so I don't have to think about it. This color hasn't been assigned yet. Okay, so now the reason I did that is so I can hit the eraser, because I do have the eraser set to selective, meaning it'll only erase the color that's currently selected in the pool. Fill tool. There. Okay. All right. So if Tahoma's struggling, maybe it's time to restart it. I know it has memory leak issues. Okay. But it's not supposed to have memory leak issues. Yeah, what are you talking about? Memory leak issues? We can't have memory leak issues. No. Yeah, actually, sometimes programs do have memory leak issues. Well, I have to say, if I was going to put on my software developer hat, at this point, I would be much more inclined to work with contributing to Tahoma than Krita, actually. Tahoma does seem like the safer bet. IMHO. Okay, that'll be fine. We're going to actually use the plastic tool to make his fingers wiggle a bit. And I guess while we're here, we'll make his quill a little more better. Okay, so now I'm going to go up here and again create this junction point right here between his upper arm and lower arm. So again, if you guys don't understand what's happening, I would say you will eventually. It will all make sense in due course. In animation. And normally when I'm working in Krita, I tend to just draw shapes. Okay, and this is the shadow area inside there. So this is starting to look okay. Right? Okay, so this will all make sense shortly. Now this gray color actually is kind of useful here. We'll just use that color for his beard situation, and that worked out fine, and that worked out fine. Okay, now I'm going to jump back into freehand mode so I can just lasso this and pick up those little globs of color that are missing. Same thing here. If I just go like that, it's going to catch all the little things that it missed. Okay. Now, how do you make this work? This is going to be the fun part. File, save all. Now, before I go too far, what I should do is turn this background back on and decide how we're going to deal with that overlapping situation that I mentioned earlier. Once we get that solved, the animation part of it should be pretty quick. So what I want to do is extend the table down here so I can see how he works with the table. Okay, interesting. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a couple judgment calls here before I get into the animation part of it. I want to just get things kind of shaped and positioned correctly. And as we go deeper, we may discover that we need to make some slight amendments to the drawing. So that can get a bit ugly. You'll see why here shortly, but here's what we're going to do. I'm going to rotate my canvas, and then let's zoom in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to commit to this body situation. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to go like this and actually just take that out. Sorry. The eraser needs to not be in selective mode so that it erases everything. So I'm just going to go like this. Okay, you know, it's probably not perfect, but it works. So I'm going to hit Shift-Alt-R, which is a hotkey I set up to reset the rotation of the screen. Okay, so now we're going to use the plastic tool. Here we go. X key, let's create a mesh. Okay, boom. All right, so now we have the mesh. for the plastic tool, and we're going to go into build skeleton mode. Now this is where it gets kind of interesting. Let's go ahead and create a couple of off-screen nodes, and I'm going to grab this with my mouse to see if Tahoma's sticking in any extra nodes that I didn't really want in there. Okay, and I guess what we'll do is we'll just make this about as simple as possible, just in case we need these nodes. We might not need them. I'm going to actually put a couple protective nodes here at the bottom of his body so his body does not move around relative to the table. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Now, here's what we're going to do that's really kind of a little non-intuitive probably for most people. We're going to take his entire body and break it into pieces like this. So here's his shoulder. Boom. We want to always have two nodes. Okay? Typically the way I do it, this might not be the smartest in the world, but okay, we want that, and then we want a node for his head, and we just want to have two nodes so that his head can be rotated a little bit. Okay, like that. All right, now we're going to switch into animate mode, and we're going to turn off keep distance. Now what that's going to let me do is start to move things around and put them into position like this. Okay, and now as you can see, we can rotate his head. We could stretch it and whatnot if we wanted to, but that's probably not the greatest idea. All right, so let's get it into its starting position first. So we'll put the shoulder here, and now again we have the ability to rotate this around. I'm actually not going to do that. I'm going to get everything in its basic position first, and then turn keep distance back on. So as you can see, we can animate this. We could have him moving his arm a little bit across the paper, so to speak. And if we go here, one could argue that really the forearm should be parented to the upper arm, but it's not that important in this case. And also, by the way, I'm going to go ahead and use the plastic tool. Okay, so you can see when I want to make that kind of more like this, but we're getting a little deformation here on his arm that I don't like. So what I'm going to do is jump back into build skeleton mode, and I'm going to put a utility node right there, so that now if I turn keep distance off, I can actually sort of compensate for that little bit of weirdness there. Okay? Now, the question now becomes, am I happy with the characterization? By the way, let me go in here. I'm going to move this up a little bit, because not being able to see that node is a little... Don't forget to increase your fill depth to fill those gaps without necessarily using the lasso tool. Yeah, that's a fair point. And I'm not messing with shadows right now either. I'm just going to put a shadow layer on later. Okay, so here it appears that Tahoma's having to think again. So I will restart it. That's definitely not a good situation to have. I will save all, give Tahoma a moment, and then we'll just do a restart. But if you want to do puppet animation, but you don't want to necessarily be limited to the limitations of the plastic tool in the sense of the way it deforms things, then this is how I would recommend doing it. Is take your... Now normally you wouldn't do it quite the way I did it. What you would do is you draw your character all in one position so that you've got the pose that you know you're happy with, if possible, and then cut it into pieces. Either way, you're going to get the same result. So we're going to just start on frame 2 here just to make things simple. Okay, let's put the table in. We're going to have to add the paper that he's writing on, obviously. Okay. My sense right now is that I want global key turned off. So what I'm wanting to tell Tahoma to do right now is only put in animation keys on the bones that actually get moved. That looks better to me. So that's my starting point. Let's go forward 4 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4. Half a second, in other words. And what I'm going to do here is go like this. Let me see. Okay, and I'll just go ahead and I'm gonna bake this animation in. By the way, I'm not gonna. In other words, I'm not gonna try to create an endless looping situation. I'm just gonna go ahead and put in the frames. Okay, I don't know if that made sense. So he's moving across the paper, jerks back, moves across the paper, and then this is jerking back. So he is writing from left to right. Apparently back in these days they still wrote from left to right. I do think that we should modify this drawing so that the end of the pen is shorter. Hey Maria. Okay, so I'm going to go in here. I'm just going to modify this right now. I have to do it in the drawing because once the plastic tool is applied, you don't really have the ability to draw directly into the X sheet. So I'm just going to kind of give the pen a nice point, but basically shorten it up. Okay? Zooming out. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do, again, a bit of a looping animation with his hand. This is going to be tricky, and frankly, it would be nice if we could actually break the plastic tool animation keys into multiple columns for something like this, but probably not the end of the world. You also could obviously turn this into 2 separate drawings and just toggle between them. So, yeah, you haven't missed that much, Maria. Okay, so here, hitting the X key for the plastic tool. And I'm going to go like this. And I think it should be on alternate frames. So I'm just going to go down, up, so I'm just kind of feeling it. Just kind of feeling it. When this is done, hopefully it will kind of sort of make sense. Okay, so here we go. Not horrible, not horrible. Let's hit the N key. I think that, yeah, I think if that plays. Now, you can see a little problem here. The problem is that the forearm appears to be behind the upper arm. So what I'm going to do to hopefully fix that, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to grab this node right here, and I'm going to put the stack. So for my purposes, at this point, I think I would be safe to just duplicate these keys so that they're stretching out a little longer. All right? Fine. That's that. Now what we want to do, again, we've got global key turned off, so basically Tahoma should only be really animating the keys that, the nodes that I'm actually manipulating. So I'm going to go ahead and put his head here. And I think, let's see. And then what if, yeah, see, the problem is I can't see the, I'm just going to wing this one. This is one of those things that at the end of the day it's probably not going to matter too much as long as it's as long as it doesn't look stupid. You know, it doesn't have a bunch of really flowy animation. That's probably okay. As long as he's talking, the mouth animation is going to kind of distract us from the issue. So we've got a choice. We can, since his head is moving, it would probably be prudent. Okay, I got to think about this for a minute, actually. If his head is moving, but we don't have global key turned on, then that means that if we pipe the mouth into the plastic tool, it's still not going to move with the head unless, aha. Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to hit the B key, create a new layer. All right, the first one, we're going to have to do this anime style. Meaning, where are we at here? Meaning that we're going to stick with two mouth shapes, otherwise it's going to get unwieldy in a hurry. And again, I'm making this up as I go along, folks. So, okay, so this is going to be drawing number 2. Hello? Hello, Tahoma. I never did restart, did I? Okay. So now what we're going to do is the following. Oh, this is going to be fun. This is going to be tricky. Here's what we're going to do. This is really, really ugly. We're going to hit the X key. And what we want to do is we want to create a node that parents the mouth to this node right here. So I'm going to build the skeleton. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this node and put a parent node or a child node here. Okay? Now when we animate, what should happen is that, there you go. You can see that's going to move its mouth around. Okay? Now this is number, let me turn the, it's hard to see. It's certainly the last one. What is that number? 35. So that's number 35. Okay, so here's what we do. We go into our stage schematic, not our effects schematic, and we're going to take column 7, which is the mouth, and pipe it into the plastic tool. Okay, now we go back here. Ah, looks like that worked pretty darn well. Wow, I got lucky. So you can see, but there is a caveat, there's a catch. You can see the mouth isn't moving correctly. Here's how you fix that. Okay, what we're going to do is switch this little button right here, which gives us a more expansive view. And what we want to do is we want to parent the mouth here to node number 35. Now it's going to initially be in the wrong position, I can pretty much guarantee you. Okay, I'm going to move this up off screen. Save. So now the question becomes, let's turn the, that turns it off in the render. Okay, there's the mouth. Okay, so what we want to do is hit the A key, animate tool, and move his mouth over to here. Okay? Now hopefully, as you can see, now that bone is keeping the mouth where it belongs. Okay, let's look at what his dialogue is. I must get a message to a confidant in the palace. Alright, I'm going to take these keys now, and I'm going to, would it be step 2? Yes. Okay, so we're just going to toggle them. I must get a message to a confidant in the palace. Okay, and now what we'll do is we'll go here, hit the D key, zip right in here, do a quick erase, And then we'll stick this right here. Okay. I don't think we need to draw the ink lines. I need to get a message to a confidant in the palace. I need to get a message to a confidant in the palace. It's not the greatest shot I've ever done, but I think it worked pretty well. Let's extend this out to, let's say, 48 frames. And then a couple little tweaks. Okay. I'm going to come back here. One thing I'm noticing is that this little line extends too far down. So I'm going to actually hit the V key for the paintbrush. And I'm going to cover lines and areas. I'm just going to shorten this up a little bit. Okay, there, perfect. Perfect, 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 perfect. I must get a message to a confidant in the palace. So, what I really want to do would be pretty difficult. We've got 34. What we really want to do is look in the stage schematic at node number 33. 33, I believe, would be the node that his head is anchored on. So here's his head, and it's rotating like this, and this rotation is causing the node for the mouth to rotate as well. So this one, the one that it's anchored on, is the one that's important for our purposes right now to fix what I'm wanting to fix. Okay? So I'm going to hit the schematic, and again, this is going to be a little ugly. I'm going to go down to the plastic skeleton, and let me see here. Vertex 34 has no animation keys. So is it 33 or 32? See, it always has them offset by 1. I bet you it's 33. Let's look at oh my. Angle seems to me, and that doesn't have any animation on it. What is this one? I need to put this on the other screen. Ah, okay. I was correct. This is the culprit right here. I want to take these two keys and I want to change the interpolation to constant. No, you didn't. Did you, Tahoma? Come on. I didn't. It looks like it did what I wanted. Boom. Yep. But it also changed that one, which is a little annoying, but not a horrible thing. It'll still look good. So let's play that. You know what? It worked. Okay, so I changed the one keyframe to interpolation so that his head kind of follows along, but then jerks back to the initial position. So, no problem. No problem. So, what do we want to do here? Let's go to the table. And this, for reference purposes, is no longer needed. Let's delete it entirely out of the shot and save our work. Let's do it. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, well, Tahoma's still thinking, so I'll take a sip of my tasty beverage. And my stupid webcam keeps dancing around here. Stay put, webcam. You don't belong where you were. Alright, so now I'm going to go to the first frame, and I'm going to hit Alt up arrow. Boom. Which should move everything up. Okay. So there we have, I guess we'll just delete this column. And as usual, whenever you're doing something that's potentially catastrophic, it's probably good to save your work. Okay. Now what we're going to do is deal with shadows. Shadows, shadows, shadows. I would say we don't need to deal with, we don't need to worry about alpha masking for this one. So, B key. And now let's just zoom in. And let's just draw a shape. And I will pipe this through the plastic tool, I think. And I'm going to go ahead and let me see how I want to do this. Well, if I do that, we're going to also need, I guess, a shape like this. You guys are going, what the heck is he doing? Okay, F key, boom. Not freehand mode, stupid. There we go. Now we can turn down the opacity of the shadow layer, but just to be fair, in our schematic, we are going to try piping the shadows through the plastic tool as well. Ooh, that's bad. That didn't work. Okay, forget it. Let's not even, I don't even want to try to solve that. I'm not going to try. Let's see if this is convincing or not. Not really. Well, I don't know. I mean, obviously if your head moves, actually the shadows would dance around you a little bit. So that's actually not wrong in terms of the real physics of the situation. So now the question obviously becomes, what about the paper? So let's go in here. This is a plain old raster level. So what I'm going to do is sample the color of the paper, or of the table, and use that as my starting point, because this paper is really going to be lost in shadow in a big way. Okay, that didn't work. And, as usual, Tahoma has just failed me in a big way, because Tahoma's undo is broken. Under the hood, it is broken. And so what just happened is, it's like, well, don't make a mistake, Dave. Whatever you do, don't make a mistake, because if you hit undo, it's not going to undo the painting you just did. What it's actually going to do is secretly, behind the scenes, where you don't know, it's going to start undoing everything else you've been doing in other layers and everything. Really, really annoying. Now, is that helped somewhat by perhaps painting directly on the picture? Maybe. I don't know. So I'm going to rotate my canvas, go with a gray here, and I'm just going to essentially hope for the best and try not to make a mistake. My best solution right now is just to not make a mistake, frankly. This is not as if it's something that you're going to be having a lot of focused attention on. Okay. So now I'm going to hit undo one time. I'm going to hit undo. Yeah, and it will not undo the stroke. So that's really bad. That's like, that right there is the biggest reason not to paint with raster levels in Tahoma. It would be better to do the painting here and just cut and paste it in, because you cannot rely on Tahoma when it comes to undo. And I've seen this to be the case, like, in a really big way. The sooner you restart, the better. Yeah, it might break something important. Okay, fine. Fine. You guys win. I will go ahead and restart. But I've never seen the hokey undo fail. Tahoma is extremely reliable at having undo that doesn't work when it comes to painting. So I don't think having it running for a while is necessarily the cure, but we can find out when we reload the scene. So let's kill Tahoma and rerun it. She's getting nervous. Sorry. Okay. Let's go to the table. Let's go in here and let's just see. Let's just see. This is easy enough. All we got to do is sample our color. We'll make this a little darker for ink lines. A little darker. Oh, that's the sketch brush. No wonder. No freaking wonder. Alright, and I hit the Z key. Ah, now the undo works. So, yeah, there you go. Kudos to Darren. Darren knows what's going on. So this is a pretty lame looking painting for sure. The question isn't whether that's true. The question is whether it matters. Let's go back here. And we will hit the X key and not show the mesh. And here we go. Play. Okay, I put the paper in the wrong position. Oh my goodness. How could you be so stupid? So, yeah, that was pretty dumb. Okay. Fortunately, the table is not being piped through the plastic tool, so that means I can just grab this, rearrange it. Oh, come on. Okay. Now, undo? Yes, thank you. Alright, I got to do it on frame 1. Otherwise, it did an auto creation of a new key. So, let's just unpaint that. You guys can see why I tend to prefer painting in Krita. Alright, so now what we have to do is we have to get this angle right about like that, actually. So yeah, that was kind of a stupid mistake. Sorry, guys. But it turned out for the best because it put the paper maybe somewhat more in shadow because I got the color a little different. So let me just see. Still not quite right. I guess not worrying too much about the shadow areas. I can always smooth that out here shortly. That's okay. That's okay. All right, let's grab this. Ah, come on. Dang. I know. Darren's out there going, well, Dave, actually, what you can do is go into your settings and turn off automatic keyframe generation. Yeah, I know. I know that. I'm trying to move quickly here. You understand what I'm trying to do? I'm wanting to paint at the speed of thought. That's what I'm trying to do. And that needs to be turned off because it's causing me to sample the wrong color. But believe me, folks, we're actually almost at the point where we're in good shape. Wow. That was difficult, wasn't it? That was difficult. That was certainly a little bit difficult. Lose your perspective. So I would say this, just to be clear and kind of make the sort of the final judgment here, is that what I'm doing on this shot by trying to construct this as a rigged type situation has in my view backfired spectacularly. At this point, I'm pretty confident, not complaining, this is all my fault, but I would say pretty confidently that everything is ultimately taking way longer than if I just had done this the hardest way possible. So that's usually what turns out to be the case. Not 100% of the time, but so it is what it is. It is what it is. Can we kind of kludge it a bit by modifying the perspective? Yeah, maybe. What's being revealed here is how badly out of whack the perspective of the table is relative to the paper. Okay, so I just want to acknowledge anybody that's out there going, this is really whacked perspective. This is like spectacularly wrong. I'm well aware of that. This is very, very, very bad in terms of the perspective. We've got a really ugly situation here that's almost punitively embarrassing. It's so bad. But, I'm going to keep rocking and see if I can see this through and still make it work. Because we got a lot of garbage here in this shot. But yeah, I mean, this is what I find often happens when I try to use the rigging approach. Sometimes it's a good thing. Usually it winds up working okay, but there are, like we have here with the perspective, there's sort of downsides that I just didn't see until it was kind of sort of too late. Now, can we compensate a little bit by adjusting the drawing? I think so. Let's give it a crack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go like this. What I need to do is extend that curvature of that table down so we can sell the perspective a little more convincingly. And I think that'll probably work. Whoa, we don't want to do that. Okay. Well, my point was that if you were doing this in a more traditional way, you would, the whole idea that I would ever have drawn that with the perspective screwed up that way is ridiculous. You'd have caught it really early. Whereas here, what I've done is I've caught it kind of late. So now that's still not right, but it's not horrible. All right, so can we even help sell it even better? I think we can. And the way we can probably is to give the paper a little bit of variance here so that it's actually casting a bit of shadow on the table. And probably, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. Probably a little bit of shadow action on the arm as well, just to see. Now does that, I can't remember if, yeah, that really doesn't work. Stop that, reverse. Okay. So this is probably okay. I don't think it's my finest hour in terms of the quality of my work, but I think we've managed to sell it, and you could even sell it more effectively by simply zooming in on Asher and hiding the bottom of the table so that the perspective is missing. Okay, so now I'm going to go back and look at the chat here. We got 10 concurrent viewers. So Maria was eating her fingernails. Okay, I get you. Brooklynite. Okay, so let's just chat. Types of things. Be back soon. Quick question. Have you seen and used that little arrow icon below the keys in the mesh column? Little arrow icon below the keys in the mesh column. Little arrow below the keys. Oh, to extend it? Well, yeah, that's true. Looping the animation is fine. I mean, you're right. That would be fine for this shot, and I have used that. I would say this: number one, I really wish we had the same ability with image sequences to cause them to loop. As far as I know, there's not a good way to do that without cutting and pasting. The challenge here was not with the fact that we needed to make it loop. The challenge was that all we see on this cell is a dot. And that dot represents any and all animation that happens to be occurring on any bones in the entire skeleton. So doing a rig this way where it's all being married together by the plastic tool, this is the inherent disadvantage of it. It would probably have been better to break the character into pieces, put them on columns, use the animate tool, and then make it a sub-X sheet. That would probably have been a better strategy. But, you know, it's not like a rule, so it's all good. I think in this case we're okay. What I would do... Yeah, oh yeah, I'm aware of that. It's just, normally when I want to create a looping sequence, I'm not looping anything that I've done with the animation keyframes. You know, the animate tool or plastic tool or whatever. Usually if I want to loop, it's going to be an image sequence that I want to loop. So, but again, at the same time, usually you're dealing with one shot at a time. So the worst case scenario is you're going to have a loop that you're going to have to cut and paste like half a dozen times, and then your shot's over. So it's just not that big of a deal. Now what I would do here is I'm gonna do the following. There's more than one way to skin this cat, but here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna draw a dot, boom, and I just created a dummy frame or dummy level. Okay? Now in the schematic, that level, I'm gonna just give it a name, CTL, for controller. Alright? And there it is. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pipe the plastic tool through the controller. Okay? And now we're going to take column 6, which is the shadow, pipe that through the controller. I would say column 2, which is the table, we're going to pipe that through the controller. And again, Darren may weigh in here. There's more than one way to do this type of parenting situation. But all I've done this for is now on this layer, I can hit the A key and I can take the whole kit and caboodle of Asher and adjust it, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do two things. I'm going to scale him up a little bit and I'm going to move him down a little bit. And now what I've done is I've effectively hidden, to a degree, the stupid perspective problem with the table. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's a bit of an improvement. Okay, there we go. So that's solved and saved. And frankly, because I'm happy with the animation, I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to bake Asher into a sub-X sheet. Okay, and now I've freed up all these other levels for bringing Mel into the shot and doing whatever we're going to do with Mel. Okay, and if I want to get down back into this, for me, I use the control down arrow to go down into a sub-X sheet. These are my hotkeys that I've set up. Control up arrow gets me up out of the sub-X sheet, and shift control down arrow takes all the currently selected levels and bakes them down into a sub-X sheet. That's how I think about it. Works pretty well. And so now, there we go. Alright, now we got to figure out how we're going to get Mel into the shot. Let's go back to frame 1, I should say. Let's save all, and I'm going to jump back to my edit. And so he turns away. Listen to me, Melchizedek. And then Mel's taking a peek. What the heck's going on over there? Asher says what he says. And now we got to get Mel in the shot. Now, if we go back here, where is Mel? I guess it might be here. No? Where the heck is Mel? I already pasted him in, but then I forgot about him. I think I deleted the column accidentally. But I'm turning off column. Oh, he's baked into the Asher column. Got it. No, he's not. What the heck? Why? Am I in solo mode? I can't get Mel to disappear. Okay, there's Mel. Whew, that was weird. We'll blame that one on dyslexia. Okay. Boom. And Control V. Done. Okay. Okay. A key is already selected, so I'm going to go ahead and scale him up a bit. And I would say here, yeah, you know what we're going to do, guys? I'm going to delete this column. That was a stupid decision. I did this the wrong way. Watch this. Now let's come up out of the sub X sheet and let's just do that modification on the sub X sheet. Ta-da! We didn't really need that extra controller, did we? Okay. So there's Mel. Mel needs to be behind, obviously not in front of Asher, so let's just pop that over to there and compare the face on 398B. If I recall correctly, I think that all of Asher's, let me see if his face, no. Nope. Nope. Okay. Well, I would say the simple solution here is just to modify this drawing. Since this was cut and pasted out of Krita, we can do that. Okay. R key, B key. Okay. Just going to try to match this expression pretty much. Doesn't have to be perfect. Whoops. B key. I like that. I like that. Okay. R key to sample. B key to just ease that in. Whoa, that's a little large. This should be 0, by the way. I'm going to sample that color. And we're just going to ease that in, like so. And then paint this rogue eyebrow back out. I like it. I like it muy mucho. So now we go back here, hit the N key, so we're looking at actual size, and look at that. That sits together quite nicely. That sits together quite nicely. Okay, I'm going to look at Darren's comments because he's usually got some good advice. I was just thinking, you could set up a 6-frame loop. It'd be a nice way to use the plastic tool in a simpler way. Yes, I agree. I agree. The problem there is that instead of animating straight ahead and really thinking, you know, I was kind of solving the problems as I went and layering complexity on top of complexity. So planning ahead way more carefully, which would require you to have a really clear idea of what the pace of this needed to be, what the pace of this needed to be, and what the pace of his head needed to be. And if you sort of matched up all the, if you could figure out in advance over a 6-frame cycle what each of those elements needed to be, then you're right. That would be not a bad way to go for this. And you could probably do it, well, yeah, I'm not going to go there, but no, you're correct. That's a certainly legitimate approach. But I think we've got it. I think this shot is probably okay. Now, the question one might ask is, why the heck is he still holding the laundry? And the argument would be, well, it's kind of so dumb that it's funny, versus it doesn't really make sense. But I think we'll leave it in there for the moment. I think that's going to be okay. So this is shot number 398C. So we're going to go into our render output settings, and let's just go to, we'll grab this, copy that path. Okay, scenes. This is 398-C / render / 398C dot ping. Let's give it a crack. Save and render. As Darren said, it looks like it created the Okay, I agree. The disadvantage of having it in one column. I'm planning something similar tomorrow for my dragon. Okay. We'll see. We'll see. It's always a learning process. Okay, that's exactly the way I'd have done it too, using another column for the animate change. But like you say, there's lots of ways to skin that cat. Ha ha ha. I'm just watching the lives and I already like the characters. Oh, thank you. I think that was kind of a compliment. I think. Maybe I'm misunderstanding the comment, but alright, so 398C, let's bring it in. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's 398B. Yeah, 398C. There it is. There it is. Boom, boom. And 8 frames a second. We're getting mighty close here, guys. We're getting close to the end of episode 1, other than all the fixes. We're hosed. So, I don't remember when I hit Control S on this. I'm pretty sure I did. So, as you can see, Vegas is going to act stupid. If I waited forever, maybe it would come back to life. I just don't know. And I don't feel like waiting around and hoping that stupid software is going to all of a sudden magically not be stupid anymore. So, I'm going to rerun Vegas. Well, Windows, frankly, Windows, in terms of just the file system of Windows, it's pretty good in terms of not like getting corrupted and losing files and stuff, like the file system becoming corrupted. But in terms of actual practical operations with files, it's very clunky and slow. I've had way better luck with Linux in that regard. Yeah, it looks like we were in good shape here. So what I'm going to do is select this in the project media list. And then we can go ahead and import. Scenes. Again, it was 398C. .398C is, of course, just below the edge of the screen. So you can't see the folder name. Duh. Okay. And that was a little weird. And now everything's being freezy again. Oh my god. Really? That's what you're going to do, Vegas? I've seen this happen, actually, where I've had Vegas run absolutely flawlessly for 6 months straight. And then, and with a full-length 90-minute movie. And then you get, like, the last day before the project's finally going to be able to be put to bed and completely done, and then all of a sudden, right on cue, boom, things start acting stupid and locking up and freezing. And you can see right now Vegas is still, it's going to crash again. Why? I have no idea. No idea. But I'm kind of screwed. I'm screwed. Fortunately, it is saved, and I'm going to have to just keep doing this. And unfortunately for you guys, there's nothing that's going to stop me from doing this at this point, and this is very, very boring to watch. Maybe you guys have been through this, where you have to sit and fight with your software because all of a sudden something that's worked flawlessly for months on end all of a sudden just starts crashing and crashing and crashing. I mean, it's really uncanny how often this becomes the case, where having 394 image sequences in the timeline, no problem. But 395 makes it blow up. Just crazy. Just crazy, I tell ya. So we're going to try it again. Let's go to the project media pool. Maybe Vegas has to think about something. Maybe Vegas is dying to like sit and generate thumbnails. That would seem to be the case because right now I'm scrolling and boom, again, it's not responding. So yeah, it's like, it turns out that the Vegas media pool has a performance ceiling that's 3 frames shorter than the length of one cartoon episode. Really? Yeah, really. I've seen things like, I've been doing this too many years. Trust me, I've seen things like this over and over again. And it doesn't matter what software you're using. Doesn't matter. It always happens. The closer you get to the finish line, the more things start smashing and crashing and blowing up and freezing. Never seen it fail. I wish that wasn't true. I wish it wasn't true that I've literally never seen it fail, but I haven't. Over about, what would it be now? About 12 years of making feature films, and, of course this is my first foray into cartoons, but yeah, this is what you deal with. Okay, so the problem is we can't solve it. Right now we've seen 3 times in a row now that Vegas has decided to act stupid. Now, I have a theory about what's going on here. My theory is this. We'll see if I'm right. My theory is that earlier I deleted something out of the media pool, but I did not clean the media pool, which means there's something being referenced somewhere in the timeline, potentially, that is not actually in the media pool, and that's got Vegas confused. So I think the solution is going to be the following. The solution is going to be to run Vegas, load the project, and immediately clean the media pool so that there's nothing on the timeline that isn't also in the pool. There's nothing in the pool. There could be things in the pool that aren't in the timeline. But actually, that's not true. If you clean the media pool, then the two are completely synchronized. Okay? So I don't want to think about having Vegas generate thumbnails. So now the first step I'm going to take is go clean project media and save my project. Now I suspect that Vegas is going to go ahead and generate some thumbnails. And is it still generating thumbnails when I can't see it generating thumbnails? It doesn't appear to be the case. Therefore, what I'm going to do is very slowly climb through the media pool and let Vegas generate thumbnails, and then I suspect things are going to start being stable again. On balance, Vegas is extremely stable, and like Tahoma, it's pretty forgiving. When something goes wrong, you restart, you tend to be able to recover your work. But you can see here, this business of generating the thumbnails, maybe I could mitigate that by just dealing with file names, switching the view from thumbnails to file names. But man, it's easier when you can see the freaking thumbnails. You say it's boring, but this is the life of a pragmatic animator. Yeah, brother, you're telling me. But it can be quite frustrating to get really close to the end of a project and then things start acting stupid. I really wish I was exaggerating. I wish I was just making this up, but I'm not. I've seen it so many times. And it's like it doesn't matter what the length of the project is. If it's a 90-minute movie, things start acting stupid when you've got 85 minutes of it done. If it's a 24-minute cartoon, things start acting stupid when you've got 23 minutes of it done. It doesn't seem to matter. It's like you start thinking the universe is out to hex you, Which, of course, is stupid. But, well, this is why we develop the mythologies that we develop, isn't it? We're almost done here, folks. We're almost done with the stupidness. Or stupidity. What is a little maddening is that Vegas... See, look at that. Look at that. Do you see what just happened? Vegas flawlessly generated thumbnails right up until I was at about 95% of them, and then all of a sudden now it decides to go into a locked up frozen mode. And we're talking about thumbnails that it's generated multiple times for months. I mean, this has been going on for months. Never a problem until today. And now we see that we're going to have this bizarre locked up situation that keeps happening over and over. And the only thing I can do is I'm going to have to dick around with it offline, get off the live stream. And it may take quite a bit of time of just dinking around and maybe having to completely recreate parts of the timeline. It could get really, really, really ugly. What are you going to do? You're going to get to the point where your cartoon is 23 minutes and 47 seconds done and go, no, I'm just going to throw out the whole program, the whole project, and just forget it because my stupid software is acting stupid. There have been times when thoughts like that actually go through my mind where you just go, oh my God, it's just not worth it. Every time you're you see the finish line, it's right there, boom, the software starts acting crazy. So somebody's going to say, well, try rebooting your computer. Oh, believe me, trust me, we're talking 20 years of this. I know rebooting the computer won't help, but then again, it might. That's the problem. It might. But there's nothing we can do. This is gonna this little thinking situation will go for hours. It's not gonna fix itself. So I think with that we will end the live stream. I'm gonna have to go offline. It's been 3 hours. I'm gonna have to. I will reboot the machine. We'll see if that helps. And because all work now has been brought to a complete halt. We can't move forward at all because our software has failed us. So there it is. All right, so I'd start with a full computer reboot, just remove the obvious possibility. Yeah, exactly. So I really hate to bail out on 11 concurrent viewers. I appreciate you guys being here, but as you know, I always find a way to fix these problems. It sometimes takes a while,